10 times Brandi Passante hit the jackpot. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the SCREENY. Jarrod and Brandi are the power couple of Storage Wars, but they don't see eye to eye every time. They aren't always on the same page during auctions and occasionally bid on their own. Brandi managed to make a couple of pretty smart choices without following Jarrod's lead and bought storage units that brought an impressive profit. Let's take a look at 10 times Brandi Passante hit the jackpot. Before we remind you of some of her best bids on Storage Wars, make sure to press the subscribe button. Number 10. Oysters on the half plate. Seeing Brandi at the auction on her own happens once in a blue moon, and it's always a blast. She gets even more competitive when Jarrod isn't around, since being on her own means she's there to prove to everyone what she's made of. Brandi was flying solo during an auction in Long Beach back in 2013, but Jarrod kept on calling her all day long and asking if she bought anything. She eventually broke under pressure and spent $1,900 on a single locker and hoped everything would work out for the best. Brandi wasn't too excited about going through this unit because she believed it was mediocre at best, but it eventually brought in $6,000. Jarrod always enjoys proving her wrong, but this wasn't one of those cases. This locker contained so much stuff it was impossible not to make a profit after selling them. The most valuable trinket they came across was an antique Japanese Hamlet. Brandi was relieved after an appraiser told them it's worth around $7,500. Number 9. Bid strong and prosper. Lockers that look like trash often end up being worth a fortune, and Brandi managed to buy one of them for only $230. Dave tried to outbid her, but his wallet wasn't as big as his mouth, and he eventually gave up. He didn't really want this unit, and only threw his hat into the ring to make sure Brandi would pay more than it was actually worth. His tactic backfired horribly, since she made over $4,000 after going through this locker. In addition to a bunch of old comic books, the young guns stumbled upon a pretty valuable piece of Star Trek memorabilia in mint condition. Everything was still in the original boxes, and despite Jarrod's complete lack of enthusiasm, Brandi couldn't help but geek out after seeing these items. The couple got in touch with a few hardcore fans of this hit franchise who told them that they could sell these items for a couple of grand since they came with William Shatner's signature. Number 8. Schoolhouse Lock. What sets Brandi apart from the other buyers on Storage Wars is the fact that she's not really there to throw money away or pick a fight. She could care less about all the drama. She simply wants to find something that could easily sell at the thrift store she's running with Jarrod. That's why she saw a locker filled with old tools as a pile of gold, while everyone else dismissed it as useless trash. Daryl was only bidding because he thought Dave was, but they eventually let Brandi have it for $650. Once she went through the unit with Jarrod, it turned out her hunch was right. They stumbled upon a couple of pretty interesting collectible trinkets, but the duo was more excited about the tools. The most valuable item that they came across was an airless paint sprayer that they could easily sell for a couple of $100. They eventually made a net profit of $3,000, but Brandi was a little annoyed because Jarrod repeatedly tried to take credit for her success. Number 7. The Man in Black is back. In black. The cast and crew of Storage Wars had a pretty crazy day in Huntington Beach back in 2014 after Dave Hester made his big comeback and eventually ended up being kicked out from the auction. Brandi managed to keep her head in the game despite all of this drama, and she spent $1,000 on 3 separate lockers that day. No one was driving a hard bargain on any of these units since they were pretty empty, but Brandi believed that she could make a fortune after going through them. She was right once again, and came across a wide variety of pretty valuable items after going through the lockers with Jarrod. They found a bunch of DVDs, vintage cameras, and ice skis, but still needed at least one expensive item that would make it all worth it. They found what they were looking for in the Jetovator, which looked as good as new. Jarrod even took it for a spin, but he was more excited after learning that they would make a net profit of $6,640 that day. Number 6. all along the Swatch Tower. Jarrod decided to pull a little prank on Brandi during an auction that took place in Koreatown and ended up splashing out $2,825 in the process. He spent the whole day behind Brandi's back bidding in her name, and the couple bought a total of 7 lockers by the end of the day. Since Brandi didn't technically purchase any of them, she could at least find some comfort in the fact that Jarrod couldn't blame her if it turns out that they were worthless. Luckily, the couple came to the conclusion that they could actually make a good buck after going through the units. Brandi was furious until she stumbled upon a bunch of valuable pieces of jewelry, and then her mood instantly changed. She felt even better after finding a weird-looking set of teacups and decided to have it appraised. It turned out they're worth $2,500, and Brandi toasted her victory with a warm cup of tea. Number 5. Chairman of the HOARD. The auctions on Storage Wars can get pretty confusing because you're surrounded with dozens of people standing in a circle, shouting and gesturing at the same time. Accidents happen, and one of them took place when the stars of this show went to Orange back in 2011. Dan Dotson thought Dave bid $1,100 on one of the units, but had to reset the auction after it turned out the mogul didn't want anything to do with it. Brandi eventually cashed out $50 less to buy this locker, and she wasn't disappointed after going through its content. Despite the fact it didn't look like they hit the gold mine, the young guns were in a good mood while going through this unit. Jarrod was excited about some little trinkets they found along the way, even though they weren't worth a fortune. Dave Hester even helped him appraise some of the items because he was curious to find out what he missed out on. Jarrod and Brandi eventually earned a net total of over $2,000. Number 4. The Danurism. Brandi and Daryl Sheets are no strangers to poking fun at each other, and their friendly competition was a driving force behind several epic storage battles. One of them took place in Hemet back in 2014 when Brandi came out victorious after spending $1,250 on a single unit. She definitely had a good hunch about this locker since it came packed with dozens of pretty collectible items. Despite the fact that they weren't worth thousands, the sheer amount of antiques that she came across with Jarrod meant that they will easily break even. He described it as a silver bullet of units and couldn't stop gushing about every little thing that they found inside. The couple came to the conclusion that they could make an extra $2,000 after selling all the vintage posters, neon signs, and other trinkets that they were now in the possession of. Number 3. Jurassic Bark. Brandi usually isn't a reckless buyer, but she does go off the rails every once in a while. Her walk on the wild side proved to be pretty lucrative during an auction in Inglewood, after she cashed out $700 on a single unit. Jarrod wasn't too happy about it, but Brandi believed that she made a sweet deal because they needed to go back to the basics and fill the shops. Her partner changed his tune after taking a closer look at the items, and they had a blast after they found some pretty interesting stuff inside. They discovered $2,000 worth in jewelry alone and hoped that they would make even more after selling some dinosaur-themed artifacts they came across. Brandi and Jarrod visited an expert who informed them that they could make an extra $200 thanks to these items. It wasn't much, but they still made a fortune thanks to the rest of the stuff this unit had in store. Number 2. Battle of the Brows. Brandi and Jarrod were always the power couple of Storage Wars, but they found their match in Reen and Casey. Once they started bidding for the same locker, the young guns wanted to prove who's boss and they weren't backing down. Reen eventually gave up since the locker in question looks like a pile of crap anyway, but Brandi never lost hope that it will be worth a fortune and parted ways with $950 so she could get her hands on the items inside. Her persistence paid off since they made a total of $3,000 thanks to this locker. It didn't seem like they were going to walk away with more than a couple of hundred in the beginning, but a Rolex waterproofing test machine they stumbled upon at the end proved to be pretty valuable. The expert watchmakers they got in touch with informed them that they could sell this little beauty for $2,500. Number 1. Driving Miss Barry. Brandi usually serves as Jarrod's voice of reason and gives him a hard time whenever he spends too much money on a single unit. That's why it came as a surprise to see her splashing out $6,750 on a locker filled with quad bikes. Brandi was happy after winning a bit war against Dave, but her partner wasn't impressed by her victory. Jarrod told her that she can deal with this unit on her own since he wanted nothing to do with it. This was the most money Brandi ever spent without getting his stamp of approval, so she really hopes it would all work out for the best. It wasn't just about earning money, but proving to the world that she can do it on her own. Brandi started panicking after taking a closer look at the bikes and realizing that they're not working. She got in touch with an expert, and it turns out the quads just needed new batteries. Luck was on Brandi's side this time around, and Jarrod admitted that he should have had more faith in her judgment after they earned $5,350 thanks to this unit. Thank you very much for watching today's video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more amazing content, and don't forget to check out one of the other 2 videos on your screen.